All right, let's talk about something that is literally all around us, but most of us never see. We're going to peel back the digital curtain and look at the history of programming languages, the invisible stuff that runs, well, pretty much everything. So, where did this all come from?
I mean, really think about that for a second. When you tap your card at a store, scroll through your phone, or just browse a website, what's actually making all that happen? It's code. But it's not just one thing called code. It's this whole family tree of different languages, and each one was a genius solution to a really specific problem.
You know, in the beginning, computers were these massive room-sized beasts. And the first huge challenge was just, how do you even talk to them? How do you give these machines complicated instructions to solve enormous problems, like cracking enemy codes or figuring out where a rocket was going to land?
And out of that challenge, these pioneers were born. These weren't just programming languages. They were incredible breakthroughs in just getting humans and machines on the same page. And each one had a very different job to do.
So, take FORTRAN. Put yourself in the shoes of a scientist back in the 50s. You're trying to calculate something insane, like orbital mechanics. Doing that by hand? Forget about it. FORTRAN was the answer. It was built to do one thing really well: translate complex math formulas into instructions a computer could actually crunch.
Well, at the same time, the business world had its own huge problem: how to manage mountains of data. Their solution was COBOL. It was designed to look a little like plain English, so it was easier to manage all those business transactions. And get this, billions of lines of COBOL code are still running the ATM you used this morning and the government systems we rely on every single day. It's wild.
But maybe the biggest game changer of this era was C, created by Dennis Ritchie over at the legendary Bell Labs. C gave programmers this incredible fine-grained control over the computer's hardware. It became the bedrock, the absolute foundation that our digital world is built on. I mean, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, they all have C deep in their DNA.
So as software started getting more and more ambitious, developers started to hit a wall. Using these early languages to write massive programs was like trying to build a skyscraper with a single 1,000-page long instruction manual. It just got messy, tangled, and super easy to break.
The fix was a totally new way of thinking called object-oriented programming. So instead of one giant, complicated recipe, you could create these reusable objects. Think of them like digital Lego bricks. Each brick has its own data and its own little set of instructions. And this idea is what made building the huge, complex software we use today even possible.
So you take the raw power of C and you add these new object-oriented features on top, and what do you get? C++. It was powerful and organized. It's the reason we have incredibly complex video games, super fast web browsers, and all those powerful apps on our desktops.
Then the internet shows up, and that creates a whole new problem. How do you write code that works on a Mac and a PC and a Linux machine and everything else? Well, Java's motto was its solution: write once, run anywhere. This was a revolutionary idea, and it's why Java became the king of big company software and eventually the language behind every Android app.
Okay, check out this number. 10. Just 10. What in the world that affects almost every single one of us could possibly have been created in just 10 days?
Yep, the first version of JavaScript was thrown together in just 10 days. It was originally made just to make web pages a little more interactive, but today it is the only language that can run directly inside of every single web browser on the planet. From little animations to giant web apps like Google Docs, JavaScript is what makes the web feel alive.
All right, here's another number that's going to blow your mind. Roughly 80%. What could possibly make up 80% of the internet's backbone?
That's about how many websites are powered by PHP. It's kind of funny. It started as this simple little tool for people to make a personal homepage, but it just exploded and became the engine behind massive platforms like WordPress, which, runs a huge chunk of the internet all by itself.
Okay, so that brings us to today, the modern era, and the game has totally changed. It's not just about managing complexity anymore. Now it's about finding the absolute perfect specialized tool for a million different jobs. We've gone from having a couple of general-purpose hammers to a full workshop of precision instruments.
And you see this specialization everywhere. For instance, Google needed a better way to handle its gigantic cloud services, so they built Go. Mozilla wanted a safer way to build fast software without the old bugs from languages like C, and that's how we got Rust. And of course, Apple needed a modern, safe, powerful language for its entire universe of apps, so they created Swift. Each one is a custom-built solution for a very specific problem.
And nowhere is this more obvious than on the phone in your pocket. To build great apps for two totally different worlds, you need two different languages. And so, two giants emerged, Swift for everything in the Apple universe, and Kotlin, which is Google's favorite language for modern Android development.
But if there's one language that really defines this modern era of versatility, it has to be Python. Honestly, think of it as the ultimate Swiss Army knife of coding. Its simple, clean style made it the perfect choice for these explosive new fields like data science and artificial intelligence, not to mention all kinds of automation. It's really the glue that holds a lot of modern tech together.
So after that whirlwind tour through history, what does this all mean for you? I mean, if you're curious about this stuff, where in the world do you even begin?
For most people just starting out, it honestly boils down to two fantastic choices. Python, because it's so easy to read and you can do almost anything with it, or JavaScript, because it's the undisputed language of the web.
If you want to get into web development, you're going to have to learn JavaScript. That handles the front end, everything the user sees and interacts with. Then for the back end, the server side of things, popular choices are Python, Java, or C#.
And what if you want to jump into the cutting-edge fields of data science and AI? Well, then two languages completely dominate that space. Python is the absolute king of machine learning, while another language called R is a total powerhouse for heavy-duty statistical analysis. But look, at the end of the day, it's really important to remember this. There is no single best programming language. The best language is just the right tool for the job, the one that fits what you're trying to build, and just as importantly, the one your team can use to build something amazing.
From FORTRAN crunching numbers for scientists to Python training artificial intelligence, every single language we've talked about was created to solve a human problem. They're tools of creation. So the real question isn't just which language you should learn, it's what problem are you going to solve?